Aloha, I'm Laura Christine, founder of Being Boundless and host of the Boundless Soul podcast. I am all about providing a safe space for anybody and everybody to discover more about themselves, do some self-exploration, dive into their consciousness, maybe look at their shadows, and find out what's going on so that we can really become alive, so that we can live like life means something, so that we feel aligned with our soul, because our soul is boundless and we have the potentiality of living in that boundless state as a human being every day. How amazing would that feel, right? So with a safe space to dive in, you get closer and closer and closer until you feel boundless every day. So in this video series, I'm talking about setting and maintaining healthy boundaries. So what even is a boundary? A boundary is basically an agreement that you have with yourself that tells you what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do, what you're willing to accept, what you're not willing to accept, what you like, what you don't like. And these things break all the time, right? Like, we don't like this, but we're gonna do it anyway because of whatever reason. A lot of times it's to people please. Hey, we're human. It's a thing that we do. Now, in the last few videos, I talked about, well, first of all, an overview of the 5 main steps or components that are necessary when setting healthy boundaries. And then I went into number 1, you've got to take full responsibility for setting your boundaries, because other people will set limits for you if you don't set your own boundaries. The second thing was to know your values. We have to know what our values are if we're going to set and maintain healthy boundaries, because if we don't know what's important to us. And our values are going to show us what is really important to us. Now, there are several ways to figure out what your values are, but it's really easy through numerology because boom, it's right there. And I do have a course that you can go in and do your own numerology and learn a little more about each of the numbers and what they mean for you on my website, beingboundless.teachable.com. But right now, let's dive into that third step, self-love. Self-love is the third really important component when you're setting healthy boundaries. Without it, you're not going to. Here's the good news. There are some good news with this one. You are already equipped with self-love. You believe that or not, doesn't really matter. Self-love is embedded in, it lives in your why, your motivation for anything that you do. Even if you feel like your ego is completely stealing the show and making all the rules and setting all the boundaries and limits, the ego or your soul or whatever, the reason anybody does anything is either 1, to gravitate toward pleasure, or number 2, to decrease or avoid pain. So no matter what you are doing, you're actually really in the state of some level of self-love. Now, the more awareness we can bring to this and the consciousness we can bring to why we are acting the way that we are acting, what we are either seeking to gain or to avoid, brings us into a more of that higher self-love state. But no matter, however you're acting now, is truly an act of self-love. If we can get this, it makes boundary setting slightly easier. Now, most people, and this might be you, I know it's definitely been me, set boundaries in a way to avoid pain or reduce it, or to kind of protect themselves from what they don't like, which is great because at least we know that. However, we kind of miss this really amazing opportunity to set boundaries around the things that make us feel light and free and boundless. Because when we set boundaries around those things and start to protect those things, it could be simple, like once a week I take a bath. And that makes me feel good. I know I'm caring for myself. It helps me relax. That is an act of great self-love. And if I can set a boundary around that and just say, you know what, every week I'm taking a bath and that's just it. It's non-negotiable. That's a whole nother level of self-love. That's when self-love starts to turn up a notch and more. And here's the cool thing. When we set boundaries around those things that make us feel boundless, that make us feel whole and free and light and all of the good things, the need to set boundaries around keeping the stuff we don't like out starts to diminish, dissolve, and even disappear. So take a moment now to just breathe in and feel into what makes me feel light and free. This was actually a challenge on one of my recent podcast episodes, to take this week and notice what makes you feel light and free throughout the day. So I'll link to that episode in the description below. You can find that. And yeah, tune in right now. What makes me feel light and free? Maybe you're doing it a lot. Maybe you're not doing it at all. See if you can set a little bit of a boundary around that. An agreement that you make with yourself about the fact that you like it or you don't like it, and that you're willing to give yourself the opportunity to do it instead of not do it. It's really quite simple. It's not easy necessarily, because we get in our patterns of people pleasing and of, our fear or whatever it is that makes us break those boundaries and not take care of ourselves like we really want to. But trust me, do it and see that your life will change, your relationships will change, everything will change. When you start to set boundaries around the things that you feel good about rather than around the things that you should set boundaries around the things that you're spending too much time doing, around the things that you don't want to have happen, so you're saying no to them, which is awesome. But we've got to start to also make room for those things and focus on those things that we love. Because law of attraction, right? Law of attraction, if you're focusing on the negative stuff that you want to avoid and you're pushing against, what are you attracting? What you resist persists. But if you start to flip that focus on the things that are super important to you, whether it's eating a healthy meal every day, taking a bath, spending the last 30 minutes before bedtime reading a book, whatever it is for you, there's so many options. Doing some art, getting that exercise in, making a live video on Facebook or IG, whatever it is. If you can start to focus on those things, once again, you'll notice that it's actually easier to keep out the things that you've been trying to set boundaries about to keep out, and you will feel better. You'll feel lighter, you'll feel freer, you'll love the birds in the background that you're hearing right now. I'm sitting here like, why isn't it just silent? But you know what? We live in a world where other things exist, and I feel really highly about the fact that there's plenty of space for all the things, especially the animals, even the roosters that you're going to hear chime in every once in a while on my podcast and in these videos, because it's life. And let's celebrate all of it. See what happens when you start to focus on the things that make you feel light and free. It's like you start accepting things more. You start to be like, it's okay, because you're more and more in that self-love that's pointed toward and at that higher self, that soul, your boundless soul. You come into your boundlessness, and then things just are okay. So write in the comments, go ahead, write down below, what are you going to set a boundary around that makes you feel light and free? Let me know. I am gonna cheer you on from as far away as I am, no matter how far that is. I am cheering you on. You got this. I'm excited for you. Now, definitely click that subscribe button so you get the next video about knowing yourself. I love that subject. And that'll come out next Friday. So I have a video come out every Friday, and they really are geared towards self-exploration and helping you feel more valid and safe as you do your own exploration of consciousness. And if you are like, I could really use a way to track this stuff, I have a free tracker. I call it the Boundless Self-Love Practice Tracker. It's available on my Being Boundless website, so I will also put that link down below in the description. If it doesn't pop up here, I don't know why, but it should. So you can grab that and look into all the amazing things that website has to offer. It also has a free basics course that talks more about boundary setting, because really, if we're not clear and honest about what our boundaries are and what's really important to us, we're never going to be boundless. But the soul is boundless, and we can have the experience of that boundlessness, even in this body, even within the limits of this body. So that course will help you to get clearer on where you might be breaking boundaries and how to repair them so you can feel as free as you truly are. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you are looking for a reading and some direction in your life, if you're thinking, I don't know, that's a super good time to either enroll in that Your Soul Map course and do your numerology yourself, or take the shortcut and get a soul map reading from me. You'll walk away with so much clarity and inspiration, motivation, self-love, and a practice that will help you truly, truly design the life that you're feeling like is way more in alignment with who you are than whatever you're up to now. I know it because I've done it. So I hope to see you there. It's all on the website and it's all hooked below. And I'm going to also link my podcast, because that's some more inspiring content for your ears. Satnam, thank you for being boundless with me.